Welcome back everyone. The pre-release for Update 4 Part 5 has just dropped, and this is the final part before the full release next week. This update adds around 500 new blocks, which massively expands the building system and really opens up what you can do without needing to rely on mods or travel as much. I've got a bunch of this recorded, so let's jump into it. So, the big headline here is a huge expansion of block sets. You've got complete sets for things like Limestone, Slate, Chalk, and cooled Magma, plus a ton of pieces missing filled in, these being Slabs, Stairs, Rubbles, Stalactites, and Beams. All the stuff we need to add detail to our builds. And this actually feels like a pretty big shift. You can now build a lot more without constantly needing to travel for different materials. There's way more variety within each block type, especially with stone. And combined with the tree update we'll discuss later on, it's much easier to stay in one area and still have options as long as you're willing to dedicate a bit of space to farming and planting trees. There's also been additional things added like gravel variants and more across the different rock types. So overall, a lot more consistency and completion across the board for stone in Hytale. On top of that, there are a bunch of creative focus additions. We've got metal block sets like copper, zinc, bronze and iron, plus things like Cyber City assets with boxes, neon signs and lights. These are mostly creative only for now, but interestingly, some of the metal ingots already work inside the builder's workbench. So I'm confident these will be added to exploration mode sooner rather than later. And that lines up with what Simon mentioned. They pushed this update out because they need more block variants in place for World Gen V2, and a lot of these blocks were already made but just hadn't been included yet. So the focus here wasn't just adding content, it was laying the groundwork for future world generation, particularly for the core materials like stone and wood. Now, in terms of survival, Simon also mentioned that not all of these blocks will make it into exploration mode, only that the ones that actually make sense will be added over time. As for the cyberpunk style blocks, those seem to be more creative focus additions also, and they were already made previously, so it didn't take the team much effort to bring them into the game. And honestly, even in their current state, they open up a completely different style of building, especially for modern or sci-fi builds, so I'm sure many builders are happy to have them included. Now, one of the bigger changes in this update is the tree system. There are new tree types like apple, camphor, spiral, and a redesigned frostwood, and all these trees have proper growth stages and unique saplings. The farming workbench has also gone from 11 saplings to 31. This is a massive jump and I was so stoked when I saw it. And it's not just about having more trees, the whole system just feels a lot more usable now. With all the new tree types, updated growth and the increase in available saplings, you've just got way more options to work with in one place. And I think this is actually pretty important because a lot of players have an idea of what they want to build, but don't always go out and chase multiple biomes just to get the materials for it, so they end up defaulting to whatever they have nearby. This doesn't really make things easier. You still need to put in the work to farm and grow these, but it removes a lot of that friction, and it makes it much more realistic to actually follow through on a build idea. So overall, it just feels like you've got more freedom to build what you want, not just what you happen to have access to. There are also some really nice quality of life improvements for building. Fences and walls now support T-Junctions and 4-way connections, meaning the fences will just look a little bit cleaner. And it also means you can make things like very tight mazes, which I think is pretty cool as well. Roof systems have also been expanded with new colours and styles. Overall, a lot of these blocks now connect more cleanly and consistently as well. It's one of those updates where building is starting to become a lot more smooth. There's also been a bit of cleanup on the creative inventory side. New categories like wood, metal and cloth have been added. And searching also feels a bit cleaner, because if you search something that doesn't pull back a lot of results, the empty slots disappear instead of having, an empty slot. So it's just a little bit easier to read and see the items that you have found. It's a small change but worth mentioning. You can now place pillars sideways, which is great to see. Beyond all that, there were a bunch of bug fixes across the board, and I'll put these up on the screen if you want to read through them. But there were a couple worth mentioning, such as weld generation performance has been improved, which is always great to see, and a few smaller ones like chains now rendering correctly when held, and egg sacs no longer making sounds after they're popped. This actually helps because now you know if there are still active ones nearby. Let's take a listen. That's going to cover the main highlight from Update 4 Part 5. This is the final pre-release with the full update dropping next week. This includes emotes, proximity chat, all these new blocks and more. One thing worth keeping in mind is how the team is actually approaching these updates. They've been shipping weekly updates pretty consistently, and a lot of what we're seeing right now is just foundational work. Even if it doesn't show up as new progression or gameplay systems, there are multiple things being worked on in parallel by multiple teams, and updates like this, especially with all the new blocks, are helping support things like World Gen V2 and future content systems. And when it comes to progression specifically, they've actually made the decision not to expand it yet, until systems like crafting and progression are properly reworked. So instead of adding a quick, temporary content now, the focus is on making sure these systems are solid long term, even if it means it feels a bit slower in the short term. But with the pace of updates right now and all the teasers to the future, it does look like things are building towards some much bigger updates. Let me know what you think about the new blocks and changes in this update, and I'll see you in the next one.